Here on AI Applied, we are talking about huge news from Anthropic, which has the chatbot Claude, and also Amazon. It looks like Amazon is investing another $4 billion into Anthropic. Now, if you don't use Claude, or if you haven't used Claude, we really, really urge you to do it as a ChatGPT competitor. I use Claude all the time. It's outstanding in a lot of ways that ChatGPT sometimes struggles in terms of mimicking your brand tone of voice. It's just a great interface. It's great at coding. It's great at a lot of very, very cool things. And this, to me, looks like a phenomenal match. Amazon, again, investing another $4 billion into Anthropic. But Jaden, I know you and I were talking about this. What's exciting about this? Because you were pumped about this.
Yeah, this is so much money. So there's a bunch of interesting things that are happening because in the past, Anthropic has already gotten sort of like it's sort of got like a pledge that it would get up to 4 billion. I think they definitely got 2 billion off the bat and they're working up the other 4 billion. And so it's interesting though, because a lot of this is tied to AWS, Amazon Web Services, specifically like Amazon wants to make sure that they're leveraging this investment to become like the place to train AI, because they actually lost a lot of their edge when Microsoft made their big deal to with OpenAI, and then Microsoft Azure started swooping up tons of AI companies because they're like, look, we trained the biggest AI company, OpenAI. We worked closely with them to help perfect like our hardware, our data centers to train AI more efficiently and better. And so they got a lot of that. And so Amazon wants to do the same thing. They're picking the number 2 company, Anthropic, which, number 2, but they're constantly battling Anthropic and OpenAI in the top benchmarks. And now, of course, we have Google kind of playing in there as well, and even Meta. But in any case, what was really interesting to me with this whole deal was actually AWS talking about what's going on. So they said our engineers worked closely with Entrepreneur's chip design team to extract maximum computational efficiency from the hardware, which we plan to leverage to train our most advanced foundational models. This is what Anthropic wrote in a blog post. They said, together with AWS, we're laying the technology foundation from silicon to software that will power the next generation of AI research and development. So right there in this big announcement, it seems like Anthropic is like, thanks for the 4 billion. We're literally now a spokesperson for AWS and how good it is. And we're going from silicon to software. Like, we're the software, they're the hardware. And this kind of this partnership that they're making, which really should benefit both companies beyond just maybe, AWS owning a piece of Anthropic. And, that's good to own a piece of an up and coming company. Like, there's that like partnership that's good. But I think AWS really wants to leverage it to go beyond Anthropic, all the other companies that they can pull on because they have the number 2 guy.
No question. No, this is unbelievable. Jane, do you remember back in the beginning of this year when, I don't know if you remember this story, but it was Anthropic projecting sales and things like that. And I don't remember what it was, but it was a massive number. And we were like, that's crazy. Like, I mean, why? All it has is sort of a larger context window. But then Anthropic has had an unbelievable 2024 to the point where, you and I use Claude a ton. I use it a lot of times where I'm not using ChatGPT. But then even then, could it just be another great chatbot, and how do you monetize that? And yes, they have some investment from Amazon. They had, which I think is originally 2 billion. They had that 300 million investment from Google very early on. If you remember that, I think last fall, maybe something like that. But all Claude was just a good chatbot. But now it is supercharged, right? Because if you think about what really lifted OpenAI, it was the partnership with Microsoft. They each had what the other one desperately needed. At first with Microsoft, it was just a play for Bing, and then they integrated into Copilot. But OpenAI really needed that mega giant to come along with them with cloud services as well. Same with Amazon. To me, this is an absolutely brilliant synergistic move between the two. Anthropic needs a huge partner to compete, not just with OpenAI, but with Google, right? I mean, and then whatever Microsoft is cooking up as well. Grok, I don't know as much, but first of all, it just gives it this incredible platform where people get really used to Claude, which you can really argue is an even better chatbot in certain ways than ChatGPT. But importantly, Amazon has not just software, but hardware, right? So, I mean, Amazon has all its AWS things. Then when people are using Bedrock, they want people using Claude. They're going to be using this phenomenal model. And Claude on its own is already doing incredibly well. It's in, what is it, the European Commission or the European Parliament, something like that. It's in with Intuit. It's in with another huge company. I'm trying to remember hold on. I had it called up here a second ago. Anyway, but just some of these like major companies are investing in Anthropic. This is huge, right? So
Yep.
Pfizer was another one. And I guess the thing is, Jaden, it's not even just that. Amazon and Alexa. Can we talk about this? It's the elephant in the room here. Everybody and their mother is already invested in this dumb as a rock, as they call it, device that's in there. Imagine Alexa with Claude in voice mode talking back to you. That is a wildly different prospect. This feels like an incredible deal to me.
Yep, 100%. So yeah, I think there's a lot of synergies and reasons for this beyond just like, they're just investing in a company, right? Because typically these big companies, they don't just invest in it for like, oh, well, I hope my my shares in the company go up like a venture capitalist or something. These guys are, they're doing it for like a strategic business move. And I think that Alexa is a really powerful point you brought up, because we had three major voice assistant players over the last few years. We have Alexa, we have Google Assistant, and we have Siri. Now, Google did the renegade thing, and they sort of had the team. And I would argue that all three of these companies could have done the same thing Google did. Google just crushed it out, and they get a lot of flack, but I actually think they're doing a fantastic job. Google is going to essentially replace the Google Assistant with their own LLM, with their own, Gemini is going to power it, and it's going to be fantastic. And we're already seeing this. I saw an ad in T-Mobile yesterday when I was getting a new SIM card for the new Pixel phone, and it already has like a lot of the Apple Intelligence stuff, but now Google's got its own version where you like have a little assistant on there, and you're like, hey, give me like the confirmation code for my flight I'm going on tomorrow, and it goes through your emails and it finds the confirmation code and brings it up to you. So useful. And Apple's going to do the same sort of thing with Apple Intelligence if we ever get it, if it ever launches, whatever. But I'll try not to be salty. In any case, Amazon, the third player, also not really crushing it on the AI model front. I mean, they have like Rufus on Amazon, whatever. It's not hitting any benchmarks, right? It's not winning any awards. And so I think a very powerful play for them, similar to how Apple is partnering with ChatGPT to power some of their Apple Intelligence,
right?
An Amazon play partnering with Anthropic, which it seems like they're the most closely tied to. If this thing could power Alexa, this thing would be amazing. And I think they have to, because as soon as Siri and Google really come online with their assistants, Alexa will be complete garbage until they have something. So whether Amazon's trying to build something in-house or not, they need this to either bridge it, or maybe it's a long-term partner, I don't know. They need something to bridge it so that they're not, competitively killed in that entire, personal assistant field.
Well, this is the thing, right? I mean, this is why I just keep thinking of this as this near perfect match, which is that you have Amazon, which has the eyeballs in the delivery service, and then you have the brain of Claude. And I think that we have now seen, we are coming up, Jaden, on the 2-year anniversary of ChatGPT, and that's sort of when the starter pistol went off, essentially, and everybody's been now fighting back and forth with who has the best model. All these models are very good. But I have to say that as they're getting very, very good, especially with reasoning, especially now that ChatGPT has reasoning, that Claude is getting reasoning, that Gemini is getting reasoning, that everybody's getting memory now, the technology is actually starting to matter again. For a while, I felt like it didn't really matter. They were all sort of the same. But I think that people are really going to start, especially real users of this, are really going to start feeling the difference. And who are the real users? Whether it's the business, it's the enterprise, right? Who are using these tools to function as a kind of a conduit with their cloud and have this search their like basically fulfill this promise by AWS and Azure and Google Cloud and everything, where it's like, hey, we have all your documents. You're going to be able to talk to your documents in a whole new way. And what Amazon has is these partnerships, and they already have these partnerships with Pfizer, Intuit, European Parliament. This is also saying that it was expanding this partnership to include collaboration with Palantir to introduce what it says to introduce these tools to the Department of Defense. So this is the thing. All these giant companies already trust AWS, and all AWS is saying is, guess what? Look who we bought. We didn't get the number 1 star quarterback, but we got the number 2 quarterback, and all our team was missing was the quarterback. And here it is. It's Claude. This is the exciting thing to me, and this is why it's easily worth for an extra $4 billion. You remember how much Microsoft paid for, what was it, 49% of OpenAI? It was like,
Yeah.
Oh,
10 billion.
10, $11 billion. It was like nothing. This is going to be an absolutely incredible investment for them, I think.
Yep, 100%. So real quick before we wrap up, I wanted to just go over the numbers just so everyone keeps that top of mind, because I do think it's interesting. So they just put in the new $4 billion. So that's total $8 billion that Amazon has put in to date. What's interesting is Amazon is still a minority investor, because Anthropic has raised $13.7 billion total. But obviously, the people that come on earlier, they get a bigger percentage of the company for less, and as it grows. So now this is kind of the later stage. So even though they put in 8 billion of the pretty much 14 billion they've raised, still a minority investor in the company, according to Crunchbase. And what's interesting is that they're pretty much getting the same deal. So last time their deal was 4 billion, which at first it was a $1.25 billion tranche, and that was in last September, and then, or September last year. And then in March of this year, they got a follow-on extension of 2.75 billion. So it's going to be the same thing where they've got the 2 installments, I think, for this 4 billion. They don't get it all in the bank account all on day one. And with the new, so pretty much it's like, if they don't like what you did with the first billion, they're not going to give you the next 3, but it seems like they made some solid progress. So, they were able to do that. The only difference in this round versus last round, other than, Amazon probably getting even less shares of the company because it grew in value or whatever, is that Amazon has insisted that Anthropic is going to have to use Amazon developed silicone on AWS to train their AI models. So companies like NVIDIA, other big players, they will not be using that. Anthropic said that they preferred NVIDIA chips, but because of the money, this is too good to pass up, and they're going to essentially forego that, which I think is another very big strategic move for Amazon, getting people to ditch NVIDIA, who is the premier for training, and be like, look, if number 2 Anthropic is training, why can't everybody else? So this is a fascinating thing. We're really excited about it. We'll keep you up to date on everything happening with this Amazon and Anthropic deal. Absolutely fascinating. Thanks so much for tuning into the podcast today. If you enjoyed the podcast, the one thing we would really love is if you could leave us a review. It would make our day. We hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. We will talk to you next time.